Hey guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled 12 Ways to Spot a Misogynist. And a big shout out to David for sending me this story. And guys, this article, this is written by a gal, obviously, and it comes from the website Psychology Today. And just like the title says, it goes into 12 reasons, 12 things that guys do that, without a shadow of a doubt, will then label them a misogynist and essentially hating on the gals. And I'm doing this one, guys, as a way to give you a quick laugh. Because you're going to see when I go over this list, first it's going to have a little spiel by the writer, and then it's going to go into the 12 different things that if guys do these, then automatically they're the bad guy and hate gals and all that. As I go through this, you're going to see that every single one of those 12 things, guess who also does those things? Women. They do them to guys. Non-dates, relationships, marriages, all that stuff. But if they do it, no big deal. But if we do it, then we're the bad guys. And it's ridiculous. And some of these things in here, sure, I'm going to admit that as I go through this, guys that do this to anybody, they're a-holes. But it doesn't necessarily make them, a hater. Because that's a very strong word. I've been labeled that from time to time, which is complete bullshit. I don't hate women. I don't like a-hole women. I'm going to call them out on their bullshit and do what I can to help guys, but I don't hate them. And sure, there are guys out there that do in fact hate them. But that's not who I am. That's not what I'm trying to encourage. But again, this list, if you do these things, then therefore you must hate them. That's bullshit. And again, you're going to see about reading this, it's going to sound very familiar to you, particularly you guys that date, do relationships, been married, all that stuff. So as I go through this, I will then read it, and then I'll switch the words he and she, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. And you'll get a laugh out of this. It says here, men who hate gals may consciously realize it, may not consciously realize it, but their acts reveal them. The misogynist. You may not have heard of them, or you may have heard of them, but what you may not realize is that they can be anywhere around you. They are notoriously hard to spot. They do not come with a label attached, and they may even come across as pro-women. In most cases, they do not even know that they hate women. Misogyny is typically an unconscious hatred that men form early in life, often as a result of trauma involving a female figure that they trusted. An abuse or a neglected mother, sister, teacher, or girlfriend can plant a seed deep down in the brain's subcortical matter. So, there isn't anybody out there, man or woman, that has had a bad experience with a woman. And there isn't a man or woman out there that didn't have a bad experience with a guy. You can't go through life being around people and not deal with a-holes from time to time. But that doesn't mean you're going to become a man hater or a woman hater or whatever. Once planted, this seed will germinate and begin to grow. The tiny root working its way into the fear processing and memory areas of the brain as tiny stem works into the frontal areas of the brain, affecting emotion and rational decision making. It says here, signs of misogyny. The first signs of misogyny are barely noticeable, but with additional exposure to neglect, abuse, or lack of treatment, this behavior seeding will grow larger and more prominent. But even when the misogyny reaches maturity and the tendency towards acting with hatred towards the gals can no longer be controlled, the misogynist and the women around him will often fail to notice the condition until it's too late. The following traits are typical of that type of person. Now here we go. We're going to go through 1 through 12 here. Number 1, in the ways to spot a guy like this, he will zero in on a woman and choose her as his target. Her natural defenses may be down because he's flirtatious, exciting, fun, and charismatic at first. Okay, so he zeroes in on a girl. You mean he sees an attractive woman that he wants to ask out or flirt with or pick up on? That doesn't make him out to be a bad guy. And who also zeroes in on guys that they like? A woman. She'll see him and flirt and come off as charming and all that, lowering his defenses. Both do it. Number 2, as time goes on, he begins to reveal a Jekyll and Hyde personality. Gee, we've never dealt with that. He may change quickly from irresistible to rude, and from rude back to irresistible. I'm sure you guys all heard about the bait and switch girlfriend, bait and switch wife, where you start dating and everything seems great, like the honeymoon period, or maybe even for a long time, then you move in together and all of a sudden it's like, who the hell is this? I jokingly say going from Dr. Jekyll to Miss Bitch. Right here. So it goes both ways. Sure, you can have guys that could be maybe he's moody, having a bad day. A lot of moody guys out there. I'm moody. My mood can change rather frequently, but I'm not doing it on purpose, and it doesn't mean I'm a misogynist, okay? But gals can be just as moody and change once they felt like they got a guy, so it goes both ways. But it doesn't make a guy a misogynist. Number 3, he'll make promises to women and often fail to keep them. With men, on the other hand, he will almost always keep his word. Well, guess what? There are guys out there that always break their promises, and they can do it to both parties here. All right, that ain't cool. Sure, I agree, but it doesn't make you what they say it makes you. And by the way, last time I checked, gals can make promises and break them just as much as guys do, and you all know what I'm talking about here. Like, I don't know, to love you and support you till death do you part, to love you and honor you in sickness and in health. Those promises tend to be broken nowadays, amongst other things. Number 4, he will be late for appointments and dates with women, but be quite punctual with men. Last time I checked, women tend to be late rather often. They tend to show up late for dates, appointments, parties. You get the point. How many of you guys have out there had a date and she shows up 10 minutes late, or she texts you 10 minutes after you're supposed to meet saying, I'm so sorry, I'm in traffic, this, and this. And yet they can manage to, if there was a sale on Prada, they're there right there in line when the thing opened up. You get my point. So it could be the hair, the shoes, the makeup, this and this. Women are late, okay? And it doesn't make them the root of all evil. It ain't cool, but it doesn't make them the root of all evil. And guys that sometimes come up late are not the root of all evil. But let's be honest, both parties are late all the time for appointments and dates and all that. Number 5, his behavior towards women in general is grandiose, cocky, controlling, and self-centered. Again, you can have douchebags out there and act that way, but they're generally that way to everybody. And guess what? There are women also that are very cocky, controlling, and self-centered. A lot of very self-centered women out nowadays, especially in an era where they feel so empowered, and you get the point. In an era of social media and dating apps, where they're bombarded with attention all the time from desperate guys, it has tended to build up a lot of egos. So anybody acting that way ain't cool. Number 6, he is extremely competitive, especially with women. If a woman does better than him, socially or professionally, he feels terrible. If a man does better, he may have mixed feelings about it, but he's able to look at the situation objectively. Again, if you switch it around, there are a lot of women that are very competitive with guys. How many gals out there try to be, I can do anything a man can do and better? And it's proven they can't always do that, whether it be in terms of strength or all sorts of things. Number 7, he will unknowingly treat women differently from men in workplace and social settings, allowing men various liberties for which he will criticize female colleagues or friends. Well, if a guy's doing that, that ain't cool, but it doesn't mean a misogynist. He's just probably a dick. And women can behave differently towards men as well in the workplace. Number 8, he'll be prepared unconsciously to use anything within his power to make women feel miserable. He may demand SCX or withhold SCX in his relationships, makes jokes about women or put them down in public, borrow their ideas in professional context without giving them credit, or borrow money from them without paying them back. Again, not cool, but doesn't make you a misogynist. And how many guys in relationships have bought things for their girlfriends and she said they pay them back, or they've taken care of her part of the bills or lent them money and never got paid back? This has happened. Right, so it doesn't make her a man-hater, but just makes her an a-hole. Women do the same thing. As for the withholding the SCX, don't get me started on that one here. Next one. Number 9. On a date, he'll treat a woman the opposite of how she prefers. If she's an old-style lady who prefers a gentleman who holds the door for her, orders for both, and pays for the meal, he will treat her like one of his male buddies, order for himself, and let her pay for the whole thing if she offers, and sometimes even if she shouldn't. If she is a more independent type who prefers to order her own meal and pay for herself, he will rudely order for both of them and pay the check while she goes to the bathroom. How dare he pay for the check when she goes to the bathroom? Horrible. Crime against humanity. He must be a misogynist if he's going to pay for the check while she goes to the bathroom. Are you kidding, lady? Look, their guys act like a-holes, but doesn't mean that they are what she describes here. And as for the she prefers a gentleman, but he doesn't hold the door open for her. Sadly, a lot of guys have learned the hard way. When you behave like a gentleman, it is misinterpreted as weakness, like you're trying too hard. And then that causes guys to not act like gentlemen, open doors and all that. Number 10. Sexually, he likes to control women and gives little or no attention to their S-word pleasure. Foreplay, if it occurs at all, is only a necessary means to an end. He likes oral, sex, but only as a recipient. His favorite positions enable him to avoid looking at the woman in her eyes. Well, last time I checked, a lot of gals enjoy doggy when she's not looking at the guy in the eyes. At least in my experience. So I don't want to hear that. As for he only takes care of himself, there are gals out there that are more than happy to have the guys go down south on them, but they sure as hell ain't going south on the guys. Again, that doesn't make her a man-hater, it's just she's selfish. And there are guys that they don't want to go south on her, you get the point. So again, we're not the villains, the root of all evil, or misogynist, that extreme label, if you don't do that. It goes both ways. Number 11. He will cheat on women he is dating in a relationship with. Monogamy is the last thing he feels he owes to a woman. I have about 2,000 videos in circulation now, pretty close, and they've involved more stories of cheating than you believe. So guess what? Men aren't the only one that cheat. In fact, the numbers are showing, studies are showing that guess who does more cheating nowadays? So it goes both ways. Number 12. He may suddenly disappear from a relationship without ending it, but may come back 3 months later with an explanation designed to lure the woman back in. Yes, some guys do that. They're usually the Chad and Tyrone a-hole bad boy types. But guess who also does that? Who also suddenly will just disappear from a relationship and come back begging 3 months later with a bunch of bullshit? You all know, we've heard this. So guys, there you go. 12 things that she's trying to point out that make instantly label a guy that way, which is nonsense. Are there guys that behave like this? Sure, but they're a-holes, not necessarily being a misogynist. And again, every single one of these women do just as well. So let's not just be so extreme with these freaking labels here. I mean, come on here. She finishes up saying, only rarely will a misogynist possess every one of these traits, which makes it harder to identify them. Their ability to lure women in with their charm and charisma adds to the difficulty of spotting the early warning signs. Well, last time I checked, the gals can also be charming and have charisma and all that. Woman haters unconsciously get off on treating gals badly. Every time they put down a woman or hurt her feelings, they unconsciously feel good because deep down in their hidden brain, their bad behavior is rewarded with a dose of the pleasure chemical dopamine, which makes them want to repeat the behavior again and again. Well, guess what? No surprise here, there are also gals out there that hate men. But I'm not going to say that every gal that does some of these things in this list are man-haters. I'd say they're inconsiderate. I'd say they're a-holes, depending on what the issue is. But I wouldn't say the case of man-hater. So, but she is quick to say that the guy, if he does these things, then he must be a woman-hater. It's ridiculous. But anyhow, guys, I thought that'd be a good one to point out here. Just an example of the mindset with some people out there. Again, not everybody thinks the way she does, but some do. And people like this sadly influence others. I don't want any guy out there to go around being an a-hole and doing the things on this list. But there are going to be guys that do that, end of freaking story. But you are not what they are calling you if you happen to do some of these things, whether it's intentional or not. I hope not, but you get the point. So that'll be a quick one here and an entertaining one to go over here tonight. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And guys, you come across a good article you'd like me to share, or especially a really good story from your own personal life you'd like me to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it. I definitely want to get a chance. I've been getting so many great emails lately. It's been fantastic. I just can't keep up with them all. But I certainly do my best, and if I don't get to it now, I'll try to down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.